My name is Ring. I'm currently doing Masters in Information and Technology at University of Canberra. As a part of our capstone project, we are conducting an interview on personal and leadership development. So for that, with me, I have Dr. Ehssan, who is Senior Lecturer in Professional Practice and Leadership at University of Canberra. And he's also founder and CEO of Inspirational Management Australia. And he have more than decades of experience in professional practice and leadership. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thanks, Sharing. Thanks for having me.
The first question that I have is, in your experience, what are the most significant challenges international students face when they are adapting to a new environment?
Yeah, so I think that's a really powerful and important question because from my personal experience of teaching international students, and also not just in Australia but also in Japan, so I spent a number of years in Japan, and we had international students also coming from other countries into Japan. And I was very much interested in supporting international students because I was also experiencing very similar challenges that they were. Being in a new country, can't speak the language very well, new environment, no friends, so I could feel, even though I was there as an academic, as a teacher, but I could still have the same challenges, right? So, and the challenges, I think, again, this was more than 15 years ago when I started to actually do surveys, very much like what you're doing today for this project. I did also surveys of international students back in Japan 15 years ago to just try to understand what are the biggest challenges they have. So the challenges range from language, of course, whether it's in Australia or a different country like Japan. Like international students are learning a new language. Some of them have some command of the local language, whether it's English or Japanese, but some may just starting to kind of improve it. So obviously that's one challenge. The other one is just making connections, making friends. It's a new environment. Family is away. Usually most international students don't have their family here. So the connection and having a community, building a community is another challenge, and building that network. And the third challenge is a new environment, just not knowing where everything is. What are the resources? What are the kind of support services available, whether it's at the university. So there's some support services available at the university, but they might not know about it because they're new in that environment. And also outside the university, where are the best cafes, restaurants, social kind of events that they can engage in. So one is environmental challenges, new environment. One is connection challenge, not having a support network, and language. There are a few other kind of psychological components, challenges, which is having the confidence or courage to go and, for instance, talk to people, because you feel like, you just don't feel comfortable, to go and start a conversation, or especially if the command of the national language is limited, then there's this worry, what if I make mistake, what if I can't communicate, or I don't understand what they're saying. So there's a hesitation, and because of that hesitation, then that doesn't happen. Exactly. It becomes harder to build that network. So those are the kind of challenges.
Thank you, Doctor. The second question is, what role do you see communication skills can play in overall personal and professional development of international students?
I think communication skills, or communication itself, is very important, because unless we communicate, we can't learn about all the things we talked about, right? Yeah. The three things is building the network. If there's no communication, then we can't build the network. So if we just sit and not do anything, just not communicate, then we can't make friends, right? Exactly. It's just not going to happen. If we don't communicate, if we don't ask questions about, okay, what are the resources out there? Where can you point me to? Ask those questions about where we can learn about the environment and where the support services are, where the best cafes and restaurants are, where the social networks are. Then we can also do, again, there's limitation in that. And the third component, which is very much tied in that, is like building the courage. It's like, it's okay, let me just try this. Let me just go and speak, because then I can build my communication skills, right? I can build my network, and I can learn about where to go, what to do, where's the resource, So it's essential in all of those three categories of challenges that international students face is the communication. Communication is important, and the skills come when we start communicating. The more we communicate, the more the skills are built, right? So that's the role of communications.
Thank you, Doctor. The third question that I have is, what are some key elements you think should be included when developing resources aimed at enhancing personal well-being and professional development for students?
So I think, from my experience, one of the most important components of leadership, personal development is self-management, self-leadership. Is how do I manage myself? How do I manage my well-being? How do
Exactly.
how do I take care of my own health and well-being? How do I eat better, sleep well, and just take care of myself? How do I become more effective? How do I manage my time? How do I manage my focus? How do I manage my resources? So this kind of self-effectiveness, being effective, self-care, and kind of being able to manage myself, which both require self-awareness. So one of the things we focus on is how do we increase our self-awareness? What practices are available to increase that? And what techniques are there to manage ourselves, manage our stress, manage our emotions? Because if we manage those things, it's easier to do everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the next question is especially for the students, they have their own skills, but they're not able to assess their skills, and they fail to recognize their area of improvement. So, do you have any advice for someone to assess their own skills and understand what skills they need to improve?
Yeah, absolutely. So this very much touches on your second question, which is your previous question about the most essential thing, which is about self-awareness, self-understanding, understanding myself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Now, there are several tools out there which help us identify or self-assess. So the self-assessment tools, some of them are around personality. Understanding myself. What is my natural kind of inclination? How do I, am I more introverted or extrovert? Just understanding about ourselves. The other tools are around strengths. Like there's strength finders. There's something called the VIA or character strengths, which is built by two psychologists. It's a long questionnaire. It's about 252 questions. I think over 250 questions. But it basically identifies what are my innate character strengths and values. So values and character strengths. And I kind of said, okay, well, these are the things that I'm naturally good at.
Yeah.
And so you leverage off them. So that's basically the strength finder allows us to find our unique strengths, the things that we're naturally good at. So we then utilize that, right? The things that we're already naturally good at. But then there's things we also identify that there's some weaknesses. So for the weaknesses, then we can either develop them, so we kind of set out some kind of goals to develop those weaknesses, or we get help from others. Just like if there's certain gaps in our skill sets that it might be just not our natural innate things, and we also don't want to really develop those skills because we have no interest. Then we kind of get help, and it works well when we work with others, when we're in a team or we're just in a community. Then we just say, okay, look, you have that strength, I have this weakness,
cool.
So why don't we work together? And if you look at any kind of startup or entrepreneurship, is exactly that. You just the person who has certain strengths uses their strengths, and then they've got places where they're weak. Then they kind of use someone else to help them with that. For instance. Apple, right? Started with Steve Jobs and Wozniak. He was the programmer. He was the brain behind all the technology, and Steve Jobs was the salesperson, right?
Exactly.
Be able to go there, present, pitch, and and so there's always ways to do that. We can't be good at everything. It's just impossible, right? So just appreciating the fact that we have certain strengths and weaknesses, and then setting out ways we can complement those strengths and weaknesses by working with others, or by setting out certain goals to strengthen some of those weaknesses. Yeah, so that can work.
Thank you, Doctor. The last question that I have here is like, as you have an experience of more than a decade in leadership practices, and then conducting different kind of trainings to different people, especially in this STEM. So what basic leadership skills should everyone have before focusing on their advanced skills?
I think, again, just to, I guess, finish the circle, is going back to self-development and self-leadership. I think that's the baseline, how do I lead myself? And in traditional education system, we don't have much education around self-leadership. How do I manage myself, my emotions, my stress, my time? How do I manage myself in stressful situations? What techniques can I use? And I think that's the baseline. It's like self-leadership. How do I lead myself? And then once I'm able to lead myself, it's easier to lead others, lead teams, lead relationships, because I'm able to stay calm in difficult situations when it comes to communicating with other people. So self-leadership would be the basis, and the advanced skills, which is about how to lead others, communicate, be able to lead a team, lead an organization, lead a nation. That all comes more naturally when we take care of that self-leadership piece.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time and being always one of the most supportive lecturer for our group. And we are so lucky to have you.
My pleasure. Thank you, sharing for your time, and I look forward to continuing working with you.
Thank you.